My English class got canceled tomorrow.
Can you hear me, Melissa?
Yes, Councilmember Rosales.
Okay, great. Thank you.
¿Listos? Cut our can roll call, please.
Councilmember Luis Cabrera,
Present.
Councilmember Africa Luna Carrasco,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Ponce,
Present.
Councilmember Matias Rosales,
Present.
Councilmember Gloria Torres, Vice Mayor Mario Buchanan Jr.,
Present.
Mayor Gerardo Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, all stand pledge of allegiance. Councilmember Ponce, could you lead us to the pledge of allegiance, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Father, we thank you tonight for your goodness and your greatness to each one of us. Thank you for the many gifts that you have given to us. We don't take those for granted because each and every day we know that not only do we have to go to work and do the jobs that we do, but you've called us into a special counsel, and that's to serve our community. So tonight we ask you, as David did in the Psalms, that you would grant us the wisdom and understanding to make the decisions that's best for our residents in our community, putting our personal differences aside, but yet we can be a unity of one. So we ask it in your name tonight. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. We're going to go ahead and go with the proclamations. Our first proclamation is for a Women's Equality Day, August 26, 2022.
Women's Equality Day, August 26, 2022. Whereas women in the United States have continuously worked to gain full rights and privileges, public or private, legal or institutional, as citizens of the United States. And whereas women in every state and every cultural and religious group work to secure women's right to vote. And whereas this day marks the 102nd anniversary of the 19th Amendment that secured for women in the United States the constitutional right to vote. And whereas recognizing Women's Equality Day as a day of celebration throughout the country emphasizes the importance of women's work for democracy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Gerardo Sanchez of the City of San Luis do hereby proclaim August 26, 2022 as Women's Equality Day, and encourage all citizens of San Luis to celebrate the importance of gender equality in society, dated this 24th day of August 2022.
Thank you. Can we go over proclamation number 4B, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, September 2022.
Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, September 2022. Whereas childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children, 1 in 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed by their 20th birthday, 46 children per day or 16,790 children per year are diagnosed with cancer in the United States. And whereas there are approximately 40,000 children on active treatment at any given time, the average age of diagnosis is 6 years old compared to 66 years for adults. Cancer diagnosis. 80% of childhood cancer patients are diagnosed late and with metastatic disease, and whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of their treatment toxicity, with 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening. And whereas in the last 20 years, only 4 new drugs have been approved by the FDA to specifically treat childhood cancer. And whereas the National Cancer Institute recognizes the unique research needs of childhood cancer and associated need for increased funding to carry this out. And whereas the researchers and healthcare professionals work diligently, dedicating their expertise to treat and cure children with cancer. It is vital that those affected by childhood cancer have access to quality, affordable care, and that research on all forms of childhood cancer continues to be vigorously supported. And whereas too many children are affected by this deadly disease and must be done to raise awareness and find a cure. The determination and bravery with which these children fight their battles against cancer should be recognized and commended by all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Gerardo Sanchez do hereby proclaim September 2022 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of San Luis, Arizona, in order to help raise awareness of pediatric cancer, dated this 24th day of August 2022.
Thank you. Item number 4C, please. Library card sign up month.
Library Card Sign-Up Month, September 2022. Whereas libraries and librarians play a crucial role in the education and development of children. Whereas libraries provide a learning environment that fosters joyful exploration, encouraging students to research subjects that they are genuinely curious about. Whereas librarians create welcoming and inclusive spaces for people of all backgrounds to learn together and engage with one another. Whereas librarians provide a variety of books and resources to serve everyone in the community, making knowledge and ideas available to that people have the freedom to choose what to read. Whereas a library card empowers all people to pursue their dreams, explore new passions and interests, and find their voice. Now, therefore, Mayor Gerardo Sanchez of the city of San Luis hereby proclaims September 2022 as Library Card Sign-Up Month, in San Luis, Arizona, and encourages everyone to sign up for their own library card today. Passed and adopted this 24th day of August 2022.
Thank you. Item number 4D, National Suicide Prevention Month, September 2022.
National Suicide Prevention Month, September 2022. Whereas September is known globally as Suicide Prevention Month, the National Suicide Prevention Month proclaim was created to raise the visibility of the mental health resources and suicide prevention services available in our community. The goal is to start the conversation about mental health and the impact of suicide to help destigmatize the conversion and help connect people with the appropriate support services. And whereas, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults and the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34 in the United States. And whereas more than 48,000 people die by suicide across the United States each year, with an average of 132 suicides completed daily. And whereas each and every suicide directly impacts a minimum of 100 additional people, including families, friends, coworkers, neighbors, and community members. And whereas we encourage all residents to take the time to understand the importance of mental health education and recognize that taking care of ourselves and others includes taking care of mental health. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Gerardo Sanchez do hereby proclaim the month of September 2022 as National Suicide Prevention Month in the city of San Luis, dated this 24th day of August 2022.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead with item number 5A, presentation on all matters regarding the annual update for Greater Yuma Port Authority. Yuna?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Buna George with the Greater Yuma Port Authority. Sorry, I'm really nervous and excited at the same time. Giving you all a update on our activities, and hopefully I get this right. Love it. Perfect. So we'll start off with our mission statement about the Port Authority will develop a gateway for global trade to facilitate, promote, and support multimodal transportation and trade opportunities to enhance economic development in the Greater Yuma area. Again, this organization was established in early 2000 to bring forth the commercial port, which is known as San Luis II. On our board, it's 2 members designated by each municipality. This year, we were happy to add on Ian McGahey after Susan Thorpe's retirement through Yuma County. And we've also added on Eric Holland from the Kokopah tribe, who is their current planner. And it's just a really good mix of both public and private industry. And we're gonna go straight into statistics. So I did a data comparison from 2019, 2020, and 2021. Again, we're just looking at pre-COVID numbers and post-COVID numbers. We peaked over 6,000 trucks in March of 2021, keeping into consideration, our community's peak season is April through November. So we're just seeing that those numbers continue to outpace previous years. As far as private vehicles was concerned, we saw that significant dip in April of 2020 due to the border restrictions. And this is a presentation that I bring forth to all the municipalities that are on the Port Authority. And it's different here in San Luis because you guys were here to see it and feel it, So at this moment, 2021 outpaces the volumes of 2019, but it was still that steep decline in consumers from Mexico. For pedestrian traffic, private vehicles and pedestrians, these numbers just reflect our transnational region of living in Mexico, but working here in the US. So 2021 hasn't exceeded 2019, but we're hoping that it continues to escalate upwards. The other data comparison was for Q1 of 2021 and Q1 of 2022, being post-COVID numbers. So for private vehicles, we're seeing an average of 8,900 vehicles a day crossing northbound. And mind you, it's now a 24-hour operation. Pedestrians also currently outpacing 2021, roughly about 6,600 people a day. And then over on our commercial vehicle, we're looking at an average of 180. So we've got, more limited hours as far as the operation on commercial as opposed to 24-hour port for pedestrian and private vehicles. But, this includes extensive inspections, excuse me. And it's not just showing, you know, your passport. There is a different type of procedure, you know, that obviously these trucks have to undergo. So for San Luis One, Ramirez Advisors, along with the Port Authority, have been hosting the technical meetings incorporating GSA and federal government representatives. So again, we're still waiting for that alignment from Mexico, and we're looking forward to possibly a site visit from Mexico officials. Touching on the Magrino Industrial Park, we currently have a contractor set, and this was because Yuma County opted to partner with the Port Authority to do the full development of the remaining 87 acres. So with that, county engineering as well as core engineering with the Port Authority, we're able to put the contracts together, put the money together through half ARPA and then half of a loan. And the contract was awarded to DPE, excuse me, who's actually mobilizing on Monday. So with that, we have a ready, willing, and able buyer that we have 87 industrial acres on under contract already. So this this entity, I guess you can say, has the capacity and the capital to provide build-to-suit spec buildings. They're looking for long-term leases, and they would also incorporate land sales. And this is all to accommodate the increased users at San Luis too in the industrial areas. Excuse me. So escrow was open in July of 2022. We're hoping this is going to be about a 6 to 8 month project. So as soon as we finish up all the developments, it will change ownerships, and Port Authority will be officially out of the land development business into a different type future, but we're still going to have be very active on the industrial front for us. Continuing with ADOT as well as DPS, I really have to commend the BLU, which is the Border Liaison Unit. So they're traveling to users in Mexico, and their goal is to reduce the out of service. So as soon as the trucks come through CBP and then they go into ADOT, there's different type mechanical requirements that the Department of Transportation requires here in Arizona. And it's teaching the drivers that come in from Mexico what exactly those are. So that BLU has done absolutely wonderful. And then DPS has spearheaded another commercial vehicle enforcement task force to work in conjunction with them. So NASCO is short for North American Strategy for Competitiveness, and the Port Authority is an official member as of 2021. So in September, I have the privilege of traveling over to Kansas City, Missouri. We're meeting with the Kansas City Southern Railroad Network. Currently, NASCO only has 3 active Arizona members. And again, because they're focusing on the North American solution as a whole, there's no reason why the Port Authority here in Yuma shouldn't have a seat at that table. So they've been really welcoming. They're an organization out of Texas, and they offer really a lot of training and webinars for international trade. In March of 2022, I had the opportunity to go to Laredo. So technically what San Luis does in 1 month, Laredo does in 1 day. To say it was a madhouse is an understatement. The amount, the volume, the amount of bridges that were available for the trade. In 2018, I think Texas saw just through that port of entry a little over 234 billion in trade, and our corridor is about 4.5. So this was an invitation from NASCO through TAMIU, and then it was an extension, excuse me, from R.L. Jones. So we really appreciate Mr. Jones extending that invite over here to us. And while I was in Laredo, I had the opportunity to speak to a gentleman from Freight Shuttle Systems. So we had the opportunity to present over here to the Port Authority, excuse me. When it comes to cross-border transit, there's always going to be innovation. It's just like technology. We always want to make sure to be either a step with it or a step ahead of it. So it's very futuristic looking in its model. They actually have a full scale built in Bryant, Texas, if anybody would want to go visit it. But again, these are just other logistical opportunities brought forth to the board just to make sure that we kind of are in conjunction with the way that transport is going. I also was able to participate in in a panel against illicit trade. So I would rather you speak to me about lawful trade and travel between US and Mexico, but you know, the illicit trade is something that has to be addressed and acknowledged. And I really do have to thank Chief Jessup, who took the time to kind of sit and talk with me and, you know, let me know what the community has seen, like overall as a whole. It was really great. They had a focus on what's considered shadow economy and that vulnerable population. So as a means of knowing how to limit illicit trade, you really have to know what you're looking for. So it's not just drugs, it's counterfeit goods and it's counterfeit cash. And they gave us the example that normally the counterfeiters would go for the 50s and 100s, but because they're scrutinized some more, you see higher volumes now of your $10 bills and your $20 bills, something that really isn't looked at too much when you hand one over. So on our future action items, partnering with University of Arizona for an entomology solution. The entomology issue has been one that's kind of taken care of or taken part of for a while. So it's going back to see, is it a, do we need the programs here in Yuma to certify entomologists? Do we provide them to USDA? Is there any type of agreement that we can possibly kind of interjoin in order for that to be posed of a solution to have somebody full-time here. Continuing to strengthen the enterprise with ADOT and DPS. Possibly establishing an alternative truck route, from San Luis 2 to SR 195 because of the residential increase that we're seeing off of Avenue E on the east side of town. Aiding in the successful implementation of the Avenue DE corridor to promote the interconnectivity to Somerton. And really kind of do a different type of industry outreach, specifically for the benefits of coming through an Arizona port of entry versus a California port of entry. And I am attending a meeting in September with GYADC for some users in the Tijuana area to see if they would be willing to reroute some of their traffic over here. And then remain an active partner here in the San Luis remodel. So kind of touching back on our mission statement about economic development, trade opportunities and multimodal transportation. We continue to run along, right, as an organization. I have really great leadership when it comes to my board. Been with the authority as of 4 years, and we're pretty happy with the progress that we've made and hopefully looking forward to another successful 4. And that would be it, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you. I know you guys have been busy a lot and you guys are doing a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from council? Concerns?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. We're going to go ahead and go with consent agenda. All matters considered routine by city council are being enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Minutes of regular council meeting held August 10th, 2022. Special council meeting held August 16th, 2022. Disbursements from August 2, 2022 to August 15th, 2022. Total disbursement is $1,266,434. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried. We're going to go ahead and go with item number 7A, discussions possible action, all matters regarding the purchase of bays, barns for apparatus parking at station number 2. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This item was something that we have budgeted for our fire station out on the east side. This is where we're going to be parking our vehicles. It's a separate, it's not going to be attached to the fire station. So we need to purchase it after talking to Absolute Steel and Storage. They're about 4 to 6 months out. So Absolute Steel and Storage is a sole source provider of tubular frame buildings in Arizona. The San Luis Fire Department considers Absolute Steel a sole source provider, which is allowed by the City Procurement Code 36.02, exclusive services. This is something that we're going to need, like I stated, so we can purchase our fire trucks and our ambulances out on the east side, Mayor.
Perfect.
you have
Aye.
any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I have no questions. Does anyone have questions, concerns?
Okay.
Chief? No? Oh, now it's in a motion?
Mayor,
Mayor,
I move the purchase and construction of apparatus parking through absolute steel and storage under city purchasing code section 3.05.020 in the amount of $48,702.90 as presented.
second,
second,
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All's in favor?
Aye.
aye,
aye,
All's against? Motion carries. Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and go with item number 7B, discussion to possible action on matters regarding the authorization to approve McNee Bros Oil Company for the purchase of gasoline and diesel fuels from Pacific Pride for fiscal year 2022-2023. George Pettis, Assistant Director of Public Works. George?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, staff and residents or people present at the chamber. So as mentioned by you, Mayor, this item is for the purchase of gas and oil and diesel from McNeese and Pacific Pride gas station. So staff is seeking approval of the purchase of gasoline through this vendor as required by the city procurement code. Any purchase over 45,000 requires approval of council in order to do so. Staff, fleet department, as well with the finance department, met with various vendors, and given the current market with oil, it's really difficult to obtain the proposals and quotes and have vendors to commit to a specific price due to the fluctuating price of the oil. So McNeese, that being said, McNeese has been a vendor for the city of San Luis for over 14 years now. Staff met with them, and the staff determined that they're the most viable option for us to move forward. For those reasons, we're also requesting for mayor and council to waive the formal procurement code and move forward with the purchase of gas and diesel from this vendor for fiscal year 22-23.
George, you've seen a benefit, a cost effectiveness of this if we do that?
Yes, sir. So with this vendor, the city is saving in taxes 18.4 cents for lightweight vehicles and 24.4 cents on heavy equipment. This is something that none of the other vendors that we visited could offer, as
Okay.
well as them being here a local station that we can use, and also a vendor that we have been used in the past and administratively treated the city really well.
Okay, good. Any questions, concerns, and council?
Mayor, is this a long-term contract or?
This approval will be effective for the current fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
And this is not necessarily means that we cannot purchase from other gas station or other vendor. But this vendor will be or go-to vendor or preferred vendor. And there's no contract.
Oh, okay.
It's basically, it'll be small purchases per vehicle, per employee. But the cumulative over the year will be more than 45,000. And that's why it has to be presented.
Do their prices change as the market changes, or do they just go to set price and that's it?
No, it fluctuates
Okay,
as
so
well
it fluctuates.
with the
The
market.
only
yeah.
thing is that we're saving on the tax.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
If there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the purchase of gasoline and diesel fuels from McNeese Bros Oil Company for fiscal year 2022-2023 and waive formal purchase procedures for the reasons presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All's in favor?
Aye.
aye,
All's against? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
George. Item number 7C, public hearing followed by discussion of possible action on all matters regarding the recommendation of the liquor license application submitted to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control by Raul Rafael Ureña Taylor on behalf of VR Wholesales and Company located at 1345 North Main Street, San Luis, Arizona, I will now entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. This is now open, a public hearing.
Honorable Mayor, good evening, and members of the City Council. Just like the item states, Mr. Raul Rafael Urena Taylor, we submitted an application to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control on behalf of BR Wholesale. And the notice and application were posted at the premise for the required 20 days. The city clerks have not received any comments in favor against this application. Therefore, we recommend approval to the state on this license.
Any
Also,
que-
the applicant is here. If you have any questions, we can entertain any questions.
Good. I have no questions or concerns. Does council have any questions or concerns? No. Does the public have any questions or concerns? I will now entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. I'll now entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of liquor license application to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and
Second.
Control for Raul Rafael Urena Taylor on behalf of BR Wholesale Inc. as presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on all matters regarding the appointment of this item number 7B. One City of San Luis resident to serve on the City of San Luis Planning and Zoning Commission. Jose Guzman.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. We received a letter from Mr. Case Bambin to resign from the Planning and Zoning Commission. His term expires on January 31st of 2024. So this item is for council to appoint a new commission member that will take over his term. We received 3 applications from Mr. Jesus Carrillo, Mr. Ren Walsh, and Mr. Cesar Cepeda. The applications are attached to the item for your review. Any questions?
So Mr. Ruben Walsh applied?
Yeah.
So there's one vacancy. How many times have we not have a quorum for planning and zoning this year?
We have had issues, but we have make it work every time. So there hasn't been any meeting that we haven't had a quorum, but we have had issues. The last minute, we have to be connecting to the phone, but we haven't been making it work, but
So we haven't missed the meeting. We haven't canceled the meeting because of lack of quorum.
not on top of my head that I remember.
Okay.
I think maybe only one.
Okay. I was curious because it's very important. Planning and zoning, there's a lot of developers, actually, the few developers that we have depend so much on the planning and zoning. And when we not show up or we're busy doing something else, it slows the progress of the project down. And it's not council's fault. It's the attendance of the planning and zoning committee. So that's why it's important, planning and zoning person, be aware that it takes responsibility. And I did it for like 4 years. And it's work. Okay, move to a point, okay. What was the other? It was Mr. Carrillo Ramirez.
Yeah, Mr. Jesus Carrillo Ramirez is a planner for the Yuma County.
And all 3 candidates said they would actually be part of the planning and zoning?
Yes.
And they understand their responsibilities?
Yes.
Is there a planner? Who's the planner?
Mr. Jesus Carrillo.
He has experience. He's got Yuma County Development Services.
Those are just looking for. Works for. Development, sir.
I like Mr. Carrillo. I think he'll be an asset to our community based on his experience. He has a degree in building inspections and construction management. I think he would be an asset. But then again, it takes council to decide.
This is a tough one.
I would like to nominate Mr. Carrillo for the position of planning and zoning vacancy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those against?
Nay.
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 Motion doesn't pass. Make your recommendations.
Couldn't,
Mayor, I'd like to nominate, Ruben Walsh.
Ruben Welts,
well, before your motion, Councilmember Carrasco, I think, like the mayor mentioned, we need someone that is willing to commit to coming to the meetings, and I know Mr. Walsh does have the experience serving on council before, so he knows the commitment of coming to the meetings and kind of like the process of it, so I would like to second, Councilmember Carrasco's, motion.
there's a motion on the floor, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
Nay. Mr. Ponce, what was your?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Matias,
I'm sorry, I broke up there. So did he second Africa? So did he motion for someone else?
there was a motion, there was a second.
Or which candidate?
Mr. Wells,
Mr. Welch. Okay, so we did have the 4 nays on the first candidate. I only had counted 3, that's fine. Aye.
motion carries. Mr. Welsh is now your candidate. Congratulations. We're going to go ahead and go item number 7E, public hearing followed by discussion and possible action on all matters regarding conditional use permit case number 202-0425, a request by DeVos Design Group on behalf of Sam Group Investment Partnership for a conditional use permit from section 18.35.30 C1 of the City of San Luis zoning ordinance of allow the commercial building with a gross floor area greater than 50,000 square feet. Assessors parcel number 227-15011 located on the northeast corner of Oak Avenue in County 24 and a half street in San Luis, Arizona. I will now entertain a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Mr. Guzman?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. So, City Council approved a rezoning for this, project last month. Due to the size of the building, this is the next step on the process, a conditional use. So council is, familiar with this development. Unless council has any specific questions, staff is recommending approval, with conditions. The conditions are very, generic. That the applicant has to comply with all the regulations of the city, and then that they have to comply with the traffic study requirement.
And this is because the size?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're building out. It's actually,
The other requirements that anything above 50,000 square feet requires a conditional use permit.
conditional use of permit. Any questions from council? Concerns? Any questions from the public? Concerns from the public?
Mayor, we receive a speaker request form from the applicant, Tom DuBose.
Please, you okay?
And we also have.
Are you
one-
really okay? Okay. There's no concerns or questions from the public at this point.
Mayor, we also have one for Ms. Elizabeth Carpenter.
Oh, it's an excellent project and needed to be done. So thank you. Any questions from the rest of the public? If not, I will now entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All is in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All is against? Motion carries. I will now entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve conditional use permit case number 2022-0245, subject to the conditions of approval as presented by staff.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All is in favor?
Aye.
All is against? Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Jose. Item number 7F, discussion possible action on matters regarding resolution number 228, a resolution of the mayor, city council, city of San Luis, Arizona, correcting a, what is it? 7-year error, new punctum and repealing conflicting provisions and providing for severability. Okay?
I apologize for the Latin, but those are the magical words we have to use for this type of motion, type of resolution. There was a error, a typographical error, on September 23rd, 2020, when 4 positions were added to the classified service. One of the positions was meant to be pay grade 200, and it was typed out as 209. That position remained at pay grade 200. The study before it went to council was that it was recommended for 200. And so Scrivener's error, nunc pro tunc, means that you can correct now and relate back to September 23rd, 2020.
And it took how long, Kay?
It took a long time.
Who proofread everything we pass?
Me, the clerks, then it goes through a routing with the.
I just wanna clarify that these are not, the small little errors, legal errors are not acceptable. I think if we pass, when we pass something like this, it's very important that we really pay attention because we basically govern with these.
Yeah. It was, we caught it now, so we're cleaning it up now.
Okay.
What, now, was this also verified with the recordings or is this just after the fact?
I'm sorry, council member?
It was passed like that, Mr. Rosales.
Okay, so the recordings, okay, so it's a typo or thing.
With
The question was there a difference between the recording and what was passed?
No, because it wasn't verbalized, that particular pay grade.
Okay. Mr. Jose Cisneros, I believe it affects you. Do you want to say something for me, please?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. As Kay stated, this Scrivener's error was done in 2020. I believe this has been only used once in the history of San Luis. That was May 2020. The non-pro-tunc has only been used only once in the history of San Luis, October 2004. That Latin term means something that is being done now, which should have been done in the past. Why now? Well, back in July 28th of this year, I submitted a complaint to Human Resources regarding my salary review, where I stated that my pay grade was 209. Here I was requesting a salary review due to the hours I've been working. I've been working 50 to 60 hours per week, working holidays, working weekends. I am unable to take vacation because I get calls, I get emails. I actually been losing hours, vacation hours. Next week, I'm gonna start losing hours again because I'm unable to take vacations. In my complaint, I mentioned that my pay grade was 209, something that wasn't the focus of my complaint. I never asked to be put in the starting pay of this pay grade. I provided solutions, citing different ways in which I can, that my pay can be improved, reflecting the amount of work that I do, which were allowed by the personnel policies. Instead of addressing these suggestions, the center of my complaint was moved to being the hours I'm working, my salary being increased, but it was moved to being the pay grade. So this was on two years ago, and it hasn't been a month since I put in my complaint, and now it's being brought up. I feel like it's not more about my salary anymore. I feel like it's about me being retaliated against in publicly to something that I think it's worse than that. So if I should have known that I was gonna be demoted publicly, I would have never put in my complaint. That's all I need to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. It's okay. How many times has this been used before?
I haven't researched it. I believe I've done it one other time since I've been here. For Scribner's error. I have two more coming up for resolutions for that a caption was wrong on those resolutions that adopt the improvement districts. I asked the departments if there were any more out there, if they use resolutions a lot, and those are the only two I could find.
So those, the ones that are coming up are based on improvement districts?
Yeah, the caption is different from the body, and so it has the wrong subdivision in the caption.
Okay.
Those are the only, I have memory that I've come once before for a non-pro but I can't remember what it was about. It definitely wasn't retaliation. The pay grade just wasn't recommended.
Mhm.
It was brought to our attention, but it wasn't retaliation.
So we didn't pick it up until it was brought to your attention from a filing complaint, from a complaining file.
Right. Because it went to CPS, they recommended 200. The resolution was wrong, but we never paid the 209. That's the level of department head.
So this affects a total of 4 positions or 4 actual employees?
No, it only affected one employee. There were 4 positions on that particular resolution.
And can you clarify what it means by retroactive to 2020? What would that mean?
That would just mean that the typographical error would be fixed back to September of 2020.
Even though you've been paying him 200 instead of 209.
Correct. at least the typo would be fixed backwards. That's what the Scribner's error, nunc pro tunc does.
But moving forward, that means he'll be classified at 200. Correct.
Yes. I mean, there isn't any factual difference as to what has gone on with pay. It's just the typographical error that would be fixed.
What is the type of, for example, the pay grade difference from a 209 to a 200?
I looked at the pay scale and the latest one is $28.98 per hour. So that financial burden that we would see is a big hit. I don't think it's a dollar or two, $28.98.
Proceed.
The complaint was submitted to HR, and as I was reviewing the complaint, I came about into the grade, which caught my attention because I know that grade 209 is used for department head, and that's what prompted the research about it. The difference is between grade 209 and the beginning of the grade is let's say one of them is at $50-some for department heads. I don't have the pay scale with me, but it's a huge difference. The file does indicate the recommendation from CPS that the position value was at 200, and that's how the person was compensated or has been listed on the pay grade. So there hasn't been compensation provided at the higher level. And as we were doing the research and found the mistake, we proceeded in taking measures to correct it, but there's not going to be a change in compensation based on that.
Okay, so he wasn't being paid at 209 level, which is classified that way. The person or the positions were paid at 200 level, which is the classification. So this should not affect his request to still ask for, a salary increase if he went going through the proper channels as he originally started with that found this mistake.
If you'd like, I can add, well, go ahead, Kay.
Council member Adela couldn't quite hear the question. Could you repeat it, please?
I think we have two issues here. One is the fact that you're saying that he was the classification was at a higher level, but he wasn't being paid at that level, correct?
No, he was classified by CPS at a 200 pay grade, and he's been paid at a 200 pay grade by the city, like how CPS classified him. There was a
right at a 200, not at a 209.
Correct, at a 200.
Correct. Right, that's what I'm saying. So the classification was at a 209, but he was still being paid as a 200 level, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and in that position should be at a 200 level, correct?
that's right.
Okay, so that's the first part of it, or the second part of it. So this should not affect the initial request and request to him asking for a pay increase if it merits his pay increase, correct?
It shouldn't affect that. You're right. There are two items here. If I may explain on the second item, the individual is being compensated for the additional duties. And I do understand what Cisneros mentions about working that many hours a week. The value of the classification is based on the scope of responsibility, not so much the volume. And so currently he is being compensated per policy, the additional 5% for doing additional duties than his regular position.
Does he get overtime?
I'm sorry,
Is he compensated with overtime?
for overtime?
Mhm.
Yes.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't get compensated for overtime.
Salary.
Oh, he's exempt.
Yeah, he's an exempt,
So he's
so
a salaried employee.
Right, so that's why I'm bringing the point up. So we're trying to correct an issue that was brought up because he was asking for maybe a pay increase. So the good thing is that we haven't been paying him at 209. You know, that's at least that's not was being paid for the past 2 years after 2 budgets that we've approved. Hence the importance of having a human director, which we have now. So the issue is correcting that, and then again, going back and going through the process in regards to his original request of the points that he was asking to maybe if there's a possibility for a pay raise due to, again, because this department originally we had 2 or 3 other positions with, which we haven't really had. So again, that's, I think, the 2 issues that we're having here.
The second issue is not on the agenda. It's just the typographical error that's before you. But I understand the discussion.
Mayor, may I?
Excuse me, council member?
I just wanted to ask, okay, so with the passage of or the approval and adopt this resolution today, how is that going to affect the employee moving forward?
It doesn't affect the employee at all. It just corrects the record, the written record.
Okay, because I just want to express my concern as to the employee working so many hours and not being able to take vacation, and also that he feels that there's some retaliation involved in whatever process he's in. So I would like to see that be solved so that we have employees that come to work feeling appreciated and valued.
So basically, by doing this, we basically approve no compensation for him.
No, this is not.
No
about-
additional compensation. Because he's
No.
arguing he's a 209, but we're saying, oh, that was an error. So basically, yes, you are. Because he's under understanding that he should be making more money, and you're telling, no, we made an error. So now we're gonna drop you down to 200.
Alright.
On this decision,
It-
because we made an error.
We never, from the beginning, when the position was created, it was recommended 200. There was an error on the resolution. And then he's been in the 200 pay grade factually in pay. His grievance has nothing to do with correcting the record.
So you're telling me that we
I
didn't
mean-
correct it based on his grievance? We're not correcting this based on his grievance?
The only thing that the grievance brought up was the error, but it doesn't,
So you answer the question, yes, we did, we're correcting this based on the grievance.
yes, because it brought it to our
Exactly.
attention. But that has nothing to do with the determination of pay.
Yes, it does, Katie. There is the reason why this is done was determination of pay. Based on our company who does the salary. So it's based on pay.
I respectfully disagree.
Mayor,
Is the
if I may.
question whether or not this is
Mhm.
finalizing his request for an increase, because there are 2 items and here we're just correcting the error that was found while we're doing the research, but there's still an item pending that it's still being researched, which has to do with the additional duties and the separate item that is not on the agenda.
Okay, because, thank you for saying that, because what you told me was he was already being compensated for those things. That was your comment. That was your statement. Now you're telling me that no, that issue is still pending.
Well, yes, there are
Yeah.
different items and we are still researching. I consulted with Louis because we're reviewing his hours, his vacation, and the additional duties that he's doing from a couple of positions, including one of them that has the title hyphenated. So there's still more that it's being done. It hasn't been final. The other side of what was submitted on the brief.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding correctly, when this position was created in September, CPS evaluated the position at a pay grade of 200. The employee has been paid at a pay grade of 200 since the position was created. There was a complaint done, and you guys realized that on the resolution, the pay grade on the resolution was 209. There's a typo, the 209. Budget retreats and all of the salary allocations have been at a 200 pay grade. Okay, he has been receiving a 5% increase for the additional duties that he has been doing. You stated that, correct? Okay, so I think we have different items here presented tonight. But as of now, what I read from this resolution is we are fixing a typo from the resolution. When he was, I'm assuming he signed paperwork accepting the position of executive assistant. That position was at a pay grade of 200. He signed 2 years ago. Somehow you guys found out, or he found out, that it was a 209. The pay discrepancy is $28.98 based on the current pay scale. I mean, that is, the 209 is a director manager level. So I think that his issue with HR should be handled internally. I think we should just fix the resolution, but it was understood by everyone that the position was a 200 grade, correct? And that's how we have been paying him. So we are trying to fix a typo. We are not retaliating against anyone by fixing a typo. So if that is something that is going on between the Human Resources Department and Louis, then I don't think that pertains to council. I think that's an internal thing that needs to happen. We need to fix a resolution that was typed wrong. With that being said, I move to approve and adopt resolution 228 as presented.
There's a motion.
Mayor, if I may add a comment, please.
Yes, go ahead.
The scenario is correct, what I'm understanding as well. I think the issue is here, the employee side should have been taken care of first before this is brought to us as council to accept the resolution. Because this puts the employee in a position thinking otherwise. I mean, this has been wrong for 2 years. I don't think this would have had an issue. We go 1 more month or 2 more weeks and correcting this resolution instead of bringing this to public and putting the employee to feel that he's being retaliated. City manager and HR and legal should have fixed or addressed his request first in regards to his pay increase, if he deserves one, if he's at that time to get an increase for his responsibilities. Then after that, oh yeah, you know what, we found something we should have fixed. We need to fix it now. But the way this is being done, I think it's putting us in a position where we shouldn't be to begin with. For that, I don't think it was handled properly.
Okay. Anyone else before I say? There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All is in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
And I hope that other issue gets addressed quickly.
Chief, let me get my screen here. There we go. Discussion of possible action on matters regarding resolution number 229, resolution of the Mayor City Council of Arizona, set towing and storage fees pursuant to section 10.25.030H of the City Code of the City of San Luis, Arizona, repealing any conflicting provisions and providing for severability. Chief?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to present this. This will be quick. As we began to discover what the towing fees were set at many years ago, and as you can see from just the summary, we set those fees 13 and a half years ago in February of 2009 at $75 for the tow fee and $25 for the impound. Obviously, that has changed several years ago by statute as far as Title IX and also Title 28 that gave the departments and the cities the right to bump that fee up to $150 and $35 when it came to the 24-hour a day storage fees. One of the other items that was of concern that was adopted several years ago by the state was also that the impound was 30 days. The impound was then placed down to 20 days. And so there were several things that we think that we needed to do simply because we have not come in line with what we believe to be the recommendations, not only of the state, but almost virtually every single city has these particular fees in place of $150 and $35. That is pretty standard. That is also the standard that we have found down here in South County as well. And being the Association of Chiefs of Police president for the state this year, many of the departments are at that level already by state law. So we're just asking that we go ahead and make that adjustment in this recommendation to you tonight.
So what's the original right now? How much do they charge? 125?
Yeah, we still charge $75 and $25, which we adopted 13 and a half years ago. So we have never, ever raised the rates for towing and storage in 13 and a half years. And so we're just bringing it up to what state standards allows us to do, of which most cities already do.
Yeah, okay. Any questions from council? Concerns?
What type of cities have these fees? Because of
Almost every city has these fees. Peoria PD is really the leader when it comes to these types of things, but when it passed state legislation, ARS statutes gave us the ability to charge that as a level to do that. And again, several years ago, they actually took 30 days away and made it 20 days, made it a little bit easier for residents to get their cars back. Simply, let's say that they got it towed because they were driving on a revoked license and they got their vehicle towed in storage. We held it for 30 days. Now it's 20 days. So there has been, if you look at departments across the state, you'll notice that in these types of fees, their level of fees for special revenues went way down. Between probably half, I would say ours has gone down at least 50%, if not more. And we've kept our rates identical to what we've did 13 years ago. So I would say probably my good guess is about 90% of all cities and departments have the 150 and the 35. If that helps.
who gets part of this money? Does part of this money come to the city?
It depends. So if let's say that there's a situation to where we're towing a vehicle, and let's just say it's Frank's Towing, we have two Franks and Angels, they tow it, but they tow it to their yard, then they would still charge the $75, and then they would have the $25 per day charge based on 24 hours. So in other words, they couldn't charge them a day if it was like, okay, well, we picked it up at 9 o'clock, but you came to get your car at 5 o'clock. It has to be a 24-hour period, so they'd have to get it, so they could do that. They've talked to us on several occasions over the years about why we have never raised the rates to meet the state standard. And our typical answer was because our economy is a little bit lower than most of the other economies around the state. And so we kept it at that rate and never raised it on anybody simply due to that. If it is what we say at 3511 to where now Frank's is going to impound it at 150 and tow it for us to our lot, then we would get what our storage fees would be. They would get the rest of that.
Any more questions? Concerns?
Mm.
If
And
not,
then, do we have to go by 150 and $35?
You do not. You can
I
set
honestly-
whatever rate that you would like to set it at, what you feel, but that's the state recommended rate. And You can, you could say, okay, we're gonna go, instead of $75, we're gonna go $100 and $35. You as a council have the right by state statute to set what those rates are.
I just think $185 for one day of towing is a little too high for our residents and especially our people coming from Mexico. Their car gets towed, they have to pay $185 and in Mexican pesos, that's like almost 3,600 pesos
So
for one day worth of towing.
yeah, and let me just kind of throw something at you. When the person elects to drive their car, I think that they assume that risk knowing that they're driving their car on a suspended license or on a revoked license or don't have a license. Because if they don't have a license, then we tow it by state statute. So, there are things that people know when they drive their cars. They know what risk may be involved with it. If they do get stopped or their car is illegally parked and we have to tow it, they know the consequence at some point to where their car's going to go. And so I think that individuals assume a risk knowing that their car could get towed. And so if we don't meet state standards, and maybe we do set it a little bit lower, yes, are we going to affect their pocketbook? We certainly are. But are we then saying at that particular point, well, you know what, it's okay, but we're not going to charge you just as much as what the state standard might be. And I think to me, that becomes a moral and a value issue to me. Since I've been doing this since 1982, that's just a thought of mine. But it's still, if council feels that that's too high, you have the right to set whatever fees you think are necessary at that point.
I agree.
I mean, and you could say, okay, we'll do it at $100 for the tow and $35. Simply it goes through our through records anyway at that particular point, or you can set it at 120. Whatever you decide to do, this is just our recommendation to bring us in line with what everybody else is doing already.
May I, Mayor?
Yes, please.
To me, $125 and $25 will, I think that will be kind of fair.
One of the other thing, and going to, because I think it's a great question, one of the other things that happens is we're not required to keep it to 20 and 30 days. We can now legally return that vehicle to a person relatively quickly. If they come with a licensed driver and they are the registered owner of the vehicle, then they assume the responsibility. They can get their car out in a day rather than wait the 20 days. So, there are some by state statute that will be there for the 20 days simply if it's a DUI or those types of things as well. And we're actually trying to get to the point now to where when we arrest somebody for DUI or those things, that if there's another licensed driver in the car, we can make the decision at that point to actually, as long as they're willing to go ahead and allow that other licensed driver, a spouse or somebody else to drive that car, we literally allow them to drive that car so that we avoid the tow and they avoid the storage fees. So we've tried to be in the pure sense of the word, we've tried to be consumer friendly, even though the circumstances might not be good for them. We've at least trying to get to the point to where we're trying to make it economical to them, because we could just turn around and say, okay, great, you're driving without a license, we're towing your car, even though you got a licensed driver, and you're gonna have to pay the impound fees. We could do that, but we don't. So it's under circumstances that a person is revoked, they're in the car by themselves, the driver can't be found in a good period of time, that we would go ahead and tow it. Or if it's a vehicle like some of you have called in that's blocking driveways or those things too. And, there's something that are parked next to fire hydrants or those types of things too. We certainly would remove that car if we can't find the owner. Our first responsibility, find the owner so that we don't have to tow the car and affect them economically. And then if we can't find them, then we'll tow the car and at that particular point. But again, they do have the right to go get their car immediately. They just have to pay what that state tow fee would be. But again, I'm throwing things to you where you say, if you think that $100 and 35 is reasonable, then that's what you as council set it at. And that's entirely up to you. And that's a decision that you make. And I go with whatever you want to do on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
We want to keep the 150 and 35?
Oh, I'll make a motion. I'd like to approve and adopt resolution number 2229. Set the towing fee for $90 and the $35 per 24-hour day. Make it a total of $125 within the 24-hour period.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mhm. We are, let's see, rates of parking control devices. Items number 7H, discussion of possible action on matters regarding resolution number 2230, a resolution of the Mayor City Council of Arizona establishing rates for parking control devices and parking meters, establishing a parking control zone, repealing any conflicting provisions, providing for severability. Chief, okay.
Thank you.
This is sort of a joint one because we researched Sergeant Ramirez brought this one to us. He wanted to know where council had set the parking meter fee. And we found minutes in at least 2 places where it was discussed, but it was never formally adopted. And so this resolution adopts the 50 cents an hour for the parking meters, maximum of 6 hours a day. That a car can be at a parking meter, and establishes the downtown zone for the meters. So on the south end is Swastiki Street, and then you go up to 4th Street and across to Caesar Boulevard, and then down to San Luis Plaza Drive is the area where meters could go.
And also along with that, with the redesign of what I think Jenny's working on and Louis, as far as the redesign downtown too, there may be the opportunity that as Main Street widens out a little bit more, or we have the ability to park more cars on Main Street, we have the ability to put meters into some of those as well. So that would be in addition to this particular item, but we could not find any type of resolution. We could only find the minutes dating back several years to where 50 cents was the rate. This resolution does not increase anything. It just makes it standard that it's 50 cents and the 6 hour.
So we're not changing the rate. We're basically standardizing. We're actually doing what should have been done originally.
Correct.
Okay. I have no questions. Questions or concerns?
I just have a question. Who takes care of the parking meter?
So we do collect the money, and then if there are some types of repairs that need to be done, sometimes we do that. Billings and collections will do that as well. All of our DEOs collect the money, bring it in, and then they do all the sorting, counting. All of the money from parking meter goes back into the general fund. So PD is just assisting as far as those things. We've done it for many, many, many years. We don't have any problem with that, but we've worked pretty well with Billings and collection when it came to getting those types of things too, as far as going that way. Many of the times in other cities, it's really not the police department that handles those things. Billings and collections have their own meter readers or responsibilities. They also have the ability to write the citations if they're expired. And the city and the chief of police gives them the ability to do that. We're not there yet, but as we began to look at some things down the road, that's a very valuable option. I'm in the middle of trying to write a particular policy for the city that gives even those that are in code enforcement the right, and also the expansion to if we ever get to park rangers and or meter readers, meter maids, et cetera, they also have the ability to write those types of civil violations as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, please.
And so like the chief mentioned, so we're reevaluating that, and we have made some changes to help with the traffic officers, because we know they stay busy. So we have made some changes to make it a little bit more efficient for them to be out on the roads where they should be. And we are evaluating that for our next budget to be looking at how that process revenues and how they're expended to cover those costs, but also as we develop downtown, how that will be implemented.
Okay. Any more questions from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve and adopt resolution number 2230.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item number 7I, discussion and possible action on matters regarding resolution number 2231. A resolution of Mayor and City Council of the City of Arizona adopting an intergovernmental agreement between the City of San Luis and Yuma County for the Yuma Regional Imagery Acquisition Consortium Project. Jose Guzman, our GSI specialist.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Isaac.
council members.
Good evening.
I'm here to present what's basically a formality. We buy this aerial imagery from a company. It used to be called Pictometry. Now it's called Eagle Web. Basically, it's they take a picture of the entire county in different resolutions and oblique imagery and ortho imagery. And we were due in 2020 for a new picture, and well, COVID happened and it got canceled. So we were trying to keep them updated every 2 years. As of now, I think there's over 1,500 homes that aren't in our aerial imagery right now. I think Google Maps is more updated than we are. But they just took a picture this April. And this is just to formalize that consortium with the county. It's not only us, it's the county, Yuma, Welton, and the Coca-Cola. So if you guys have any questions about the aerial imagery, I'm here to answer.
I have no questions. Does anyone have questions, concerns?
No, sir, I think not.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve and adopt resolution 2231.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
Isaac. Item number 7J, discussion possible action on ordinance, action on matters regarding ordinance number 428, ordinance of the mayor City and the city council of City of San Luis, Arizona, amending the City of San Luis codes, declaring the document entitled San Luis Video Servicing Regulation a public record, adopting the San Luis Video Service Regulations by adding chapter 5.25 titled Video Services related and regulating licenses, proposing fees, imposing a penalty for violation, establishing effective date, reappealing any conflicting provisions, and ordinance providing for severability. Okay,
This ordinance is not actually required, but we are moving along with the broadband coming to our area with the grants, the ARPA grants, and Jenny said there's another one that's bringing the last mile, what they call the last mile from the backbone that the county is doing, and then there's more grant money. So all that's in this ordinance is actually in state statute and the Federal Communications Commission rules of the federal government, but this puts it together so that it's easier for people who want to come and hook onto the video, to the cable, and for staff to understand the procedure and have it all in one place. It also authorizes imposition of a fee on the providers who will hook in. The maximum that's allowed is 5% of their gross revenue, but we'll need to impose that after a notice period. So this sort of puts everything in one place, so everybody understands the regulations that apply.
I have no question. Does anyone have question or concern on this one? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 428 by title only.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 428, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of San Luis, Arizona, amending the San Luis City Code, declaring the document titled San Luis Video Services Regulations a public record, adopting the San Luis Video Services Regulation by adding chapter 5.25 titled Video Services, relating to regulating licensing, imposing fees, imposing a penalty for violation, establishing an effective date, repealing any conflicting provisions and ordinances, and providing for severability.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve and adopt ordinance number 428 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. 7K, discussion and possible action on matters regarding ordinance number 429 and ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Arizona, amending the San Luis City Code, chapter 150, building regulations to amend subsection 150.10.130C and also divisions E to sections 15.10.130, additional regulations, repealing any conflicting provisions and providing for severability. Okay?
This ordinance allows the city to recover costs of putting in infrastructure from the adjacent landowners or foregoing that, recovering that cost. It's not mandatory. And it also creates a fair process for the owner of the land, adjacent land. They would get notice before work begins, a hearing, appeal, and legal challenge standard. The city would have up to 20 years to recover the cost as land develops. So this would allow the city to be more proactive in putting in infrastructure and then getting recovered.
Good. I have no questions. Any questions, concerns from council? If not, I would say a motion.
Mayor.
Move to approve ordinance number 429 by title only.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 429, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of San Luis, Arizona, amending the San Luis City Code, chapter 150, building regulations to amend subsection 150.10.130C and add subsection E to section 15.10.130 additional regulations, repealing any conflicting provisions and providing for severability.
I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve and adopt ordinance number 429 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. No, wait, that's 429. I think it's, is this 428? 429?
429.
Okay. There's a motion. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those-
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we are done.
Thank you.
Summary of current events by mayor, city council members, and our city manager present to ARS 38-431.02. I have no comments.
I want to share that there's a concert on Friday, so looking forward to that here at our park.
Anyone else? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go with the call to the public. Do we have anyone from call to the public?
No, Mayor, we did not receive any speaker request forms.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move. Second.
There's a motion, there's a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Have a good night. Thank you, staff. Thank you.
Thank you.